Alright, we're streaming, doing another live follow-up from yesterday's video about Fusion 360. This video will cover dimensioning about your project for a shop drawing. On that table that we made yesterday, or in the previous video if you're watching later. I'm just setting up my live comments on my phone so I can keep up with everybody that may be interested in seeing this. Probably give people a little bit of a warning to get in here. I want to make sure you can all hear me. Waiting for some response. We're just going to go for it. Might have called everybody off guard. This was not scheduled, just a spur of the moment type thing. Should only last about 20 minutes. So from yesterday's drawing, this is actually I redrew it in here. So it might be a little bit different from yesterday's. But anyway, so from this, I deleted the floor and the walls because I didn't want to dimension those. So from this drawing, we make sure we have a current save on the file, which is done. We go to Drawing, from Design. We click, and it highlights what it's going to show in the drawing. And when Fusion 360 says drawing, it means a detail, like a blueprint type drawing. So we can choose different things, create new, or you can add to another drawing from scratch, template. All right, we got some people here. If you can hear me, let me know. If you can't, let me know. I don't think I can make the volume any better, but just to make sure everything's working the way it was yesterday at least. So we click Drawing from our model. We click Drawing from Design. This menu pops up over here. We hit OK, unless we want to change our paper size, units, our standards, things like that. So we click OK. And now it's processing that information. So then it kicks us over to a new file, which we can then save as a PDF to print. So now it's asking me my scale. Right now it's 1:20 or 1:220. I'm going to make that 1:16. I was playing with this a little bit earlier, and that seemed like the best scale for me. So you kind of want to envision this in your mind. So you're going to have a top view, a front view, and a side view, and then an isometric view over here. So just lay that out in your mind before you start placing things. So this is our base view, it's asking. So from base view, we go over to Drawings. I click that, and it knows what it wants me to look at. So there's my top. So I'm going to go top, go over here to side view, and this is automatic. I come up in the corner, and that's going to give me an isometric view. Hit enter, and it saves that information, or that saves that layout. Let me close the browser so you can see better. And down here, it also, your main folder, your parent folder, would be this name right here, New Project. I haven't changed any of that, but I can actually go in here and manually change this information. So this is the title of the file was Table Demo. That could be anything, and you can change that right now if you wanted to. But you can also change the appearance of these items. So I like my isometric view to be shaded, just because it gives me a better representation of what I'm looking at. So now from here, it's very straightforward. You just click dimensions and you can select a line, and that's 31 3/4 of an inch. It didn't grab the whole line, it grabbed the top of the line. So we're going to go back. We're going to zoom in a little bit, because if you remember, we put that round over on there. So we have to make sure we're grabbing the outside edge of that table. No, it did something I didn't like. See, this is what you have to really pay attention to this. So I'm going to go grab this edge. Here we go. 32 inches is what we had. We're going to pull that out a little bit to make it look nice. Hit fit, which is this magnifying glass button right here with a little square in it. So now we have a 32-inch tabletop, which is dimensioned. Dimension is still selected after we make one dimension. So I'm going to zoom in, and your computer might be different, but on my computer, as a gesture I have to do. So now we have a 73-inch wide top. Now we click that. So we have a 73 by 32-inch table. Now we can do other dimensions. This is a shop drawing. This isn't a technical drawing. So we just want the base information here. So for our tabletop, we want to grab the top line, kind of swing around, grab the bottom line, and go over here, out to the edge a little bit, and click 1.5. So our tabletop is 1.5 inches thick. So you can see what it did there. I don't like the dimension I don't like the number underneath right here. I want that to look a little cleaner because we're going to be grabbing some other information. So after I choose my dimension, I click escape. I click the dimension, and there is a little gray square which I can select. So I hold that with my mouse, and I can pull that anywhere I want. And I can put it over here if I want it to be kind of silly. But you can see that's lining up with the other top. Right now I just want it to be above. So I move it, and I click enter. And of course something is thinking. It didn't like me doing that for some reason. Okay, now it's back. Okay, we're just going to leave it right there. We're not going to fight with it. Okay, so we have a 1.5 inch top. Now we can dimension between the aprons. So grab the dimension line. Something goofy is happening right now. I think I made it mad at me. We're going to save this. See if that helps us out. Dimension. Okay, we saved it and it was able to think. So we can dimension this line. We could put this one right here. It's not going to hurt anything. So this apron, just going to zoom in. So grab the bottom of that line. We don't want to overlap our dimensions. We want it to look clean. And really that's up to you. If you think that looks good, that's fine. I'd probably drag this one over here, so it's out of the way. So now there's nothing interfering here. And that was as simple as grabbing that dimension and pulling it over. Now we can dimension our legs. Bring it down so we know that's the leg. We can dimension the leg over here, which was 32.5 for this drawing. Center to center, so our apron dimension is 21 inches. And this isn't accounting for any joinery. You know, this is probably you're going to use dominoes or doweling or something of that nature. We can also go a little bit further. This is your basic information that you're going to need to make this table. Certainly enough information to know what kind of material you have to buy. So we're going to go on this edge over here. We're going to zoom in. So let's just say you're giving this drawing to somebody else, and they don't know that this is a certain dimension chamfer, or this is a certain dimension chamfer. Let's pretend like it actually matters. So we can just pick that line, come off. Now we know that's a 3/4 of an inch chamfer. We can dimension this line to here. We know that's a certain thickness, but we don't really care what that is because we know our 1/8 of an inch is correct. So we have this 1/8 of an inch up here. So I'm actually going to put that over here and then hit escape, highlight my dimension. See, keep in mind what just happened there. If I go over here and click, it's going to highlight this feature or this component. So now you click off of it, and I want to click that dimension. See, I can click this one. It's kind of funny where you grab it. So click the line, and now I can only grab this dimension. You have to grab it by that square. So you can move it over here, hit enter, mouse. Let's go back to fit so we can zoom out. And that's basically it. Does that make sense to everybody? You could do things like reference dimensions. This gets more interesting for, you know, if you're going to send this out to somebody to have them make it, or it doesn't really matter. So you double click your dimension, and this dimension menu pops up. Now, it's telling me what my tolerance is, or my level of precision. So right now, if I don't really care, it can be, you know, then it alternates. So I have no dimension. That's different levels of precision you can choose, depending on how precise you want your drawing to be. So tolerance, type, representation, reference dimension, which a chamfer is a reference dimension. You know, it doesn't matter if that's exactly 1/8 of an inch. So we'll keep that in parentheses, which is a standard notation for reference dimension. We can do that for our chamfer down here. Representation, reference dimension, close. Now we can see this is overlapping now, and we don't want that to overlap. We want a professional looking drawing. So now it's moved. Click off. And we want to move that again. See, right now it's a little confusing. So is this pointing to this dimension, or is this pointing to this dimension? And, you can get confused. So you might as well just click it and move it over a little bit to avoid any confusion. So we want to hold this dimension. That's a good dimension. This is a critical dimension. Your tabletop really isn't a critical dimension. We can do something like this too. So you go to text, and you can click a line. Now you can pull off from that line. You can say whatever you want. So you can say this is 3/4 inch stock material, solid wood. And you would do typical, so TYP. Enter. So mouse off, and now I don't have to flip this drawing over. If I want to move this, I can. So mouse off. Hello everybody, thank you for joining. We've got new people in here today. This is good. So you just mouse off, you click this material, say this is 3/4 of an inch solid wood, which is typical. So that should mean for all of these aprons. This apron, that apron, and there's 4 of them, right? 2 on each side. And you can do notes to yourself too. So on the bottom of the leg, maybe I want to chamfer the bottom. And that's just to, when you're pulling it across the floor, perhaps, or it gets kicked, you could be at a party or something like that and your table gets kicked. It doesn't scratch your floor. So you chamfer your bottom of your leg. You can make other notes too. Anything you want. This is free to manipulate however you want with the text. You can make sure you give yourself a note. I don't want to mess with my isometric. So you can give yourself a note. Grain runs left to right. That way we remember which way our grain is supposed to run. And that's less important on a tabletop. You would probably never stack your boards like this. That's, just hammering home that idea that you can say whatever you want, and that's official. Whatever. Trying to look over my dimensions. So now I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to have to make this table. I have to make this table right here. So what would I like to see that I can't see? And also, you can double click this again. All right, I have to click out of this. My leader. That's what that's called, my leader. And this is this text. So a leader has a line. So now we can double click this table and we can do what we did yesterday. We can put the hidden lines back on. So now we can see behind the table. So we can see the leg there, we can see the apron. And again, this is less important for a table, but it might be more important for maybe a turning that you have that has a hole through it, and there's another dimension that you need to see. But just as easy to go back and flip it on there. And we can go from parent, visible edges, and we can change that for any of them. So if you want to print in black and white and you don't want a big black blob right here, you'd probably keep it like this. But while I'm drawing it, I really like to see a picture of what I'm dimensioning. So we can close that. You can double click here and you can tell it shade that one too. You know, you just do whatever you want. And if you're dimensioning, let's just say you're going to use a standard mortise and tenon joint, you would actually want to double click this. You want to see your hidden edges then. So that brought up a good point. I wasn't considering this. So now that we see our hidden edges, which are basically this apron and that apron, which are our side aprons. Now we can see those. We wouldn't have been able to see them before. So now we can put our leader line, or we can actually dimension that too. So there's more than one way to do everything with dimensioning. So now we have 1/4 of an inch. Reveal, or offset as we called it in our drawing. And we can put that, we want that to be a solid dimension. Gonna move around a little bit. Sorry if it gets a little scratchy. So then we can actually dimension our leg or our apron. This is getting a little fussy here. I don't like that there. 1/4 inch. I don't even like that. So what I want to do there is to put a leader. Let's put here 1/4 inch reveal. Mouse off. It automatically closes that. So 1/4 inch apron to leg reveal. So there's no room for confusion there. I think that's about it for the drawing. We can probably do some stuff over here. So we double click this, drawn by me. We can put a logo in here if we want to, which will populate this square. So project, this is this new project. We can change that. YouTube live. Table demo. Paper size is B. Revision. Scale 1 to 16. Sheet 1 of 1. Checked, drawn, approved. And we can put under here, under title 2, we can put walnut. We click OK, and this populates. So you can change that anytime you want to. So it can be approved by yourself if you really wanted it to. So I think that's good. Does anybody have any questions on that? Was that pretty clear? Check our battery life. Yeah, we're fine. Waiting for some feedback to see if everybody... Awesome. So it seems like that information was pretty clear at this point. You can get more detailed, but like I said, this is just a shop drawing. So then you go through your mind about, hey, how do I... You pretend like you're actually going to build this. So I need this width of material, this length of material at a minimum. I need one of these, I need this, I need 4 legs, and I know the dimensions on all of that. We can dimension the complete table, you know, top to bottom if we really wanted to, but 32.5 plus 1.5 will give us that dimension. So I think that's pretty good. All right, we're going to wrap up from here. Thank you for joining me. I know this was a pretty quick video. Normally my live videos are an hour, but this was a pretty fast one because the information was fairly condensed to one project. So thank you all for joining me, and I will see you next time. Thank you. Bye.